Do you understand what's going on in your body and your brain when you drink alcohol? Do you have an appreciation of how that's affecting your menopause symptoms? I'm going to be actually covering that today. So welcome to my channel. My name is Kate Hartley. I have a Menopause Monday video every Monday, generally natural menopause. I've done it without HRT. I have nothing against HRT, but that's just the route I've chosen. If you've got anything you'd like me to cover in a future episode, please drop it in the comments and I'll make sure to add that to my rotation. If you've not yet subscribed, make sure to do so that you don't miss future episodes. So first of all, what is alcohol? Alcohol is also known as ethanol. It is a water-soluble drug, which essentially means it goes to all parts of our body very easily. You obviously find alcohol in alcoholic beverages, beers, wines, spirits, etc. But you also find it in things like hand sanitizers, rubbing alcohol for cleaning, various cleaning products, perfume. So people who are at the extreme end of addiction to alcohol, you can even find that they will drink hand sanitizer if they're really struggling to get hold of alcohol, a source of alcohol. I'm not going to be talking about addiction per se today. I will be covering it briefly because I'm a psychotherapist too, and I have helped people with alcohol addiction, generally with psychotherapy and hypnotherapy. But that's not really the emphasis on today's video. It's more around giving you tangible tips and helping you understand maybe what your relationship with alcohol is and help you find a path forward. And this is not to say you should be giving up alcohol 100%. It really depends on your lifestyle. What benefits do you get from it? Do you get any benefits from it? And also to give you support if you are struggling to kick the habit. So what are the actual risks of regular alcohol drinking? Certainly with alcohol, the increased risk of cancer goes up no matter how much you drink, heart disease, obviously weight gain, diabetes, at the far end, liver failure, cirrhosis of the liver. One of the things that I really did notice is the fact that there seems to be a real disconnect between somebody leading up to cirrhosis and somebody actually having cirrhosis, because I looked at quite a few anecdotal bits of evidence around people who have developed cirrhosis and people actually who have lost their family members due to cirrhosis of the liver, which really is when the liver has become so scarred that it no longer functions. And the only way that you can actually resolve or remedy that is through a liver transplant. And of course, those are not the easiest things to come by. And the liver is very, very good at masking its damage until it's almost too late. So you may even be having a liver function test and it's coming back okay, and actually there are things going on that the liver function test hasn't picked up. Fatty liver disease, you can have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and also alcohol-caused fatty liver disease. That tends to happen when you're drinking alcohol regularly. You are creating inflammation in the liver. So when we drink alcohol, it goes into our stomach, into our small intestines, and then it gets metabolized by the liver. So if we are consistently drinking particularly large amounts of alcohol, possibly hard alcohol like the spirits, we're really putting our liver under a huge amount of stress. And that ultimately can lead to the cirrhosis of the liver, and you are lucky if you survive beyond the cirrhosis of the liver. There are quite a few stories that I read where people had gone into hospital because of cirrhosis of the liver and they didn't come out. So that really is leaving it too late if that is the situation that you have. But there also seem to be, there are a lot of very angry families who were saying, you know, nothing was picked up. We've been in touch with the healthcare providers for years with this family member maybe who was alcoholic or who had an alcohol addiction, and all of a sudden they ended up with cirrhosis of the liver, and there was no real sort of report of do you realize the damage that you're doing to your liver? There was very little advice given in the lead up to that cirrhosis having become a fatal factor. So I do think there is a disconnect. In fact, I know personally there is a disconnect with people that I know who have got an alcohol addiction problem. The fact that you have the doctors who don't really seem to talk to the alcohol recovery units, and then you have the alcohol recovery units. They go cold turkey for a while. They get given drugs to help them manage without the alcohol, and then they come out, and then they're back in the big wide world, and there is very little support unless you want to go to AA meetings. And I know people who've done really, really well with AA meetings. They swear by them at how good they've been. I also know people who refuse point blank to go to AA meetings. And you can have an opinion on that. But I think, yeah, we are all coming from different points of things happening in our lives. We all start with different, it could just be a lack of self-esteem. I think also there's a tendency to think, well, you know, because you've got an addiction, you've had abuse in your earlier years. No, it doesn't have to be that either. So I think some of us have more of a propensity to alcoholism, an addiction, just an addictive personality, and others of us seem to manage to drink quite a lot regularly without much problem. I grew up in a family of drinkers. My dad was in the brewery trade. My grandparents all brewed their own wine, brewed their own beer, and it's always been part and parcel of my life. When we were little, we were able to, my other grandparents, we were able to, they had avocar, that yellowy, greeny liqueur thing. And I remember my sister and I, as little ones, we were able to put our fingers in their glass once they'd emptied it, and we were able to lick our fingers. It was just part and parcel of growing up. And I definitely don't have an alcohol problem. I regularly go teetotal, and but at the moment I'm drinking a small amount of alcohol. I think it's important that we don't judge others on our own sort of set of circumstances. There's a lot of stigma around addiction, and I think there's a lot of stigma because it tends to be judged negatively. And if you are in a family of somebody who is an addict, it can be bloody hard. And you know, when you're being told, well, just treat them with love and care, and you're almost dealing with the devil on the other end, and you're human too. And I think it's really important, if you're in that situation, that you protect your boundaries and that you make sure that you're physically safe, and nobody has any right to degrade you and to be abusive towards you. As much as you might love that individual and want to help them, sometimes they have to just know that you love them, and accept the help that is out there, and take action on the help that is out there. It's so important that they do that. And I also don't believe that you have to hit the rock bottom. Everybody says, oh, well, they have to wait till they hit rock bottom. I actually don't believe that at all, not with the people that I've worked with. And I think if they've hit rock bottom, sometimes it's too late in any case. It is just having that willingness to think, right, there is treatment out there, and it's up to us, you know, as a family, as a community, with your healthcare provider, to try out the thing that might work best for you. Because there's all sorts of different therapies. You can have talking therapies, cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance therapy, hypnotherapy, reflexology, aromatherapy, acupuncture. There's all sorts of different ways of approaching it. And because we're all so individual, it really is important that you, or if you have a loved one or yourself, finds an approach that works best for you, but also to go into that therapy with a real determination to do the work to make sure that you get over that addiction. Women also tend to be at higher risk of developing alcohol-related problems. That's largely because, on the whole, women are smaller than men, we weigh lighter than men, we carry less water in our bodies, which tends to mean if we're drinking alcohol, our alcohol concentration is going to be slightly higher because we have less water fluid in our bodies. And if you drink alcohol on an empty stomach, it's likely to have more of an impact on you more quickly, normally within an hour, and then within about 4 hours, that sort of peters out and you sort of metabolize that alcohol. So I'm just going to go over a few sort of the main organs as well as the liver to sort of explain why we want to be aware of the amount of alcohol that we're drinking. For instance, with the kidneys, alcohol makes us dehydrated. So when you wake up and you've got a hangover, it's often because it blocks the antidiuretic hormone. So that means that not only are we peeing out the alcohol that we're drinking, but it's also making the body pee out fluid, water that we've actually got that we would normally retain. So you are actually getting dehydrated from the alcohol, and also the fact that it's blocking the antidiuretic hormone. So that's one of the reasons why you might wake up feeling so ghastly, your tongue's dry, your mouth's dry. And that can also lead to feelings of anxiety, irritability, largely also down to the type of alcohol that you're drinking, because it's not just the ethanol that's having the impact on the body. With various drinks, they have other things added into them, which are toxins in our bodies, and ethanol in and of itself, when you think that it's also in cleaning agents, it's the same alcohol. So, you know, it cannot possibly have a positive effect on us. So just bear in mind that the more that you're drinking, even if you're, you have an alcoholic drink and then you have a glass of water and then you have an alcoholic drink and another glass of water, that's a much better way of doing it. But you still might, depending on how many glasses of alcohol you drink, your predisposition, it might well be that you still wake up with a hangover. But it is important to understand that it does block that antidiuretic hormone. It can also contribute to leaky gut. So leaky gut is when things that should stay in the gut don't. They pass through the gut blood barrier, and that can cause inflammation in the body. Well, inflammation of any kind in the body is bad for us. It can cause you to hang on to weight. It can contribute to all sorts of inflammatory disorders. Leaky gut is, and our gut health in general, if you're putting alcohol inside, it's not going to be beneficial for your gut flora. It's gut health is so important for our mental health, for our ability to absorb nutrients from food and some drinks as well. So you want to be making sure that, is it just the alcohol that's causing the problem? Have you got other issues going on too? Is your gut not healthy because of your lifestyle as well? So of course alcohol falls into that lifestyle, but if you're eating a lot of refined sugars, pastas, you're not eating very many vegetables, you don't eat enough protein, you're not drinking enough water throughout the course of the day, that's also going to have a negative impact on your gut health. And 90% of our serotonin, one of our feel-good hormones, gets created in the gut, not the brain. 50% of dopamine, another of our happy hormones, gets created in the gut, not the brain. So, just be very mindful of that your gut health is absolutely key. Your skin is going to look more sallow when you drink more alcohol. You're likely to have more eye bags because you just look more puffy when you drink more alcohol. There was one of the ladies that I work with. She went teetotal about a year ago, and her face really, really transformed. She's always had a tiny waist. She's one of those people that, although she does have swelling in her legs, or she did have swelling in her legs before she quit the alcohol, but her face was remarkably improved. I say improved, that's a really awful way of saying it. Her face was remarkably less puffy after she'd stopped drinking alcohol. And this is all fine and good, but if you're there thinking, yeah, but I actually drink more alcohol than I want to, I need to kick the habit. Me telling you all these things is really going to have no difference at all on you. So indicators to whether you may have a bit of an issue with drinking alcohol is how frequently do you drink? Are you able to stop drinking when you've had enough, or do you feel like you just keep wanting to, an extra half a glass, an extra glass, oh, another couple of glasses won't hurt? Are you waking up in the morning feeling hungover? Is it having a negative impact on some of your behaviors? Are you in a relationship that almost requires you to be drunk or tipsy so that your boundaries collapse enough for you then to be able to maintain that relationship? Because another thing with alcohol, it seriously affects our brain. It goes straight up to the brain, and it has a big effect on our prefrontal cortex. Well, our prefrontal cortex is our sort of decision-making logical area of the brain. And when you've had a couple of drinks, your inhibitions go down. So like at parties, a party might start off relatively quiet. And then as people start to drink more, they get more rowdy and they get rambunctious and they start dancing on tables. They probably wouldn't do that if they weren't drunk. And also, it leads to one-night stands. It can lead to, just so many different things because of the fact your inhibitions have gone down. And I know people also who drink so that they can go to the party, and the one night stand is almost like part of the deal. That they don't really care. It's just they don't care. They've had the drinks, they're drunk, they have the one night stand, and somehow they pick up the pieces the next day. And a lot of people do that, I think, probably in the younger years, but I know some women who still do that now. And it just eats away at their self-esteem, their level of self-confidence, and they get to the next day and they just feel ghastly because they've got the physical effects of the hangover, but also just knowing that they've just traded themselves in again for another night on the booze. And while I think part of it is the fact they're feeling loved and they may be craving that physical intimacy, it's not a healthy way of getting that physical intimacy. And all it does in the long term is certainly increase their risks of STDs, but also it just eats away at their sense of self-worth. And I think that's really sad, because when, you know, when you're trying to cut down on things like alcohol, which are addictive, you don't want to be feeling worse about yourself either. You want to be coming from a place of, okay, trying to build yourself up to you know, you may have contemplated it for long enough, and there's a few stages of pre-contemplation, contemplation, taking action, maintaining the action, you know, and then the habit gets changed, and it is also a behavioral habit. So for me, I'll mull it over for a while. I'll start to think, oh, perhaps I should go teetotal again for a while. I only drink maybe 1.5, maybe 1 glass of wine a night, or 1.5 glasses of wine a night. When I drink, I normally drink pretty much every night. Don't get drunk. I have absolutely no intention of getting drunk. I hate that feeling, but I do enjoy a glass of wine at the end of the day. For me, it signifies the end of the working day, or if I have to work late, it's just like, oh, it's so nice to have a glass of wine when I just finish off these emails. And for me, it's my treat. I love wine. I really enjoy wine. I like beer. I like whiskey. I like cider. I do enjoy drinking booze. I think, you know, there's very much the camp of you should never touch alcohol, and then there's the camp of us who actually enjoy drinking, as long as we're not hurting anyone else. And I think it's up to us what we do. But then there is the other camp that's like, actually, I'd love to be able to just have 1 glass of wine a night, or maybe just drink sort of 2-3 nights a week, and then the rest not drink at all. And when you're losing that control and it's not benefiting you. So, you know, I would ask you honestly, and answer this honestly yourself. What benefit do you get from drinking alcohol? Because actually there aren't that many benefits really when you think about it. It makes you fatter, it costs money, it's a poison, it disrupts your hormones, it has a negative impact on your organs in your body. And so what is the deal with the alcohol? For me, I love red wine. I love the flavor of champagne. For me, it's the flavor. And it's that pattern interrupt. It's the end of the day. Maybe I do get a small level of high from it, but then I also drink kombucha. I brew my own kombucha, and I get the same feeling from kombucha as I do with a glass of wine. Kombucha is sparkling. I ferment it a bit longer than you would normally ferment it, so it does have trace amounts of alcohol. If you are alcohol sensitive, you should not drink kombucha for that reason, but it's nothing like the alcohol you would get in a glass of wine. So when you are wanting to reduce the amount that you drink, have a strategy in place that you're filling that hole with something else. So whenever I know I'm going to go teetotal, I don't even really plan it. I just wake up one day and think, right, that's it today. It can be a Tuesday, a Thursday. I never actually even note the date when I stop drinking. So I know people say, 30 days alcohol free, 265 years alcohol free. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I know once I start, I normally go for weeks, several, sometimes months. I don't think I've ever done more than a year. I wouldn't know. I couldn't actually tell you, but I will go for long periods of time. The first 2 weeks, in all honesty, I will be getting nearer to sort of 5-6 o'clock, and they'll be like, okay, what am I going to have instead? Because I'm starting to think, oh, I'd like a glass of red wine. And so I have a glass of kombucha. I also have, I have a daily superfood shake, which helps. It's brilliant with sugar cravings. It's got adaptogen herbs that helps you manage your anxiety more effectively. And, you know, if you're looking for that pattern interrupt, that's the reason I would normally drink, is I'm just looking for a change. I've been drinking water all day long. I do drink tea and coffee, but not an awful lot of it, just because of the caffeine. You know, I have probably 1 cup of coffee and 1 cup of tea a day, maybe 2 cups of tea at the most. So the rest of it is literally just water or kombucha or my superfood shake, which I mix with water. And I will have my shake at around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, purposefully knowing that as soon as those cravings come knocking, that I want to pour a glass of wine, it stops that happening. And that's what I use in my arsenal. And then within 2 weeks, normally I've even forgotten to have that thought about having a drink in the afternoon. And that's, I really recommend, if you're going to reduce the amount that you're drinking or even stop, have an alternative drink that you can use that you enjoy as much as. And also don't, as soon as you have these thoughts coming into your mind, it's like, oh, shall I just have a beer tonight and then I'll start again tomorrow? No, don't even go down that path, because then you're feeding the beast. It really is. You do have to kind of try and catch your thoughts in the earlier days. Another thing I do, and particularly if I've got somebody under hypnotherapy who I'm helping reduce their alcohol, I encourage people to like my glass here of water, it's lovely and clean. It looks really fresh. I mean, doesn't that look lovely? And what I do is when they're under hypnotherapy, and you could do this without being under hypnotherapy as well, is focus on the glass of whatever it is, water, for instance, close up. It's fresh. It might have lemon or lime slices in it. It's maybe got some condensation on the outside. It's really bright. It's really clean looking. And then visualize, and that's up big and close, and then visualize in the distance, in this dark, crummy corner where there's maybe some dead insects or maggots or something. It's really dusty and moldy. And there's your drink. There's your alcoholic drink. Well, whatever it might be, your beer, your wine. Maybe imagine it's got some mold floating on the top of it or some dead insects in it. And spend a few moments doing that. You're visualizing the dusty, dark image of the alcoholic drink, and then you're bringing your thought process back. Thought processes back to your glass of water. Do that a few times, and that has a really strengthening effect on strengthening your resolve, but also making you think, oh yeah, I'm going to drink this. This is lovely. And then when you're drinking it, really appreciate the fact you've got clean water or whatever your drink is. There are so many non-alcoholic drinks on the market now as well. I tend not to use those. Personally, I don't really like them, but I know a lot of people who really do. And if you really like the non-alcoholic beers and the wines and the gins and things, then go for that, because it's a great non-alcoholic opportunity for you. I would be mindful of the amounts of sugar in those things. I don't necessarily think they're a healthy alternative, but if they've got zero alcohol in, then they'll help you break that habit. And then maybe at a future date, you want to reduce the amount of non-alcoholic drinks that you're drinking and substitute with something that's a little bit healthier, like soda, the soda water, not like fizzy orange or anything like that, because that's really bad for you as well. So that is the process that I would take if you're wanting to cut down a bit on the drink that you're drinking, or the alcohol that you're drinking. But if you've got a problem where you're finding that you're drinking more than you want to on a daily basis, reach out for help, because the sooner you do that, the better it will be for you. And there is no shame in reaching out for help. The probably best person to start with to talk to is your doctor. Or you could go and pay privately to a therapist. But I think, see what's available to you on the health service and see if you're able to do it. Obviously, in the UK, I think in the States, you'd probably have to pay to get, or maybe your insurance would cover it. I don't know how that works over there. But certainly over here, I would certainly talk to your doctor and see if there's something that they can offer you. Because there's various drugs that you can have if you really do have an addiction. You can have various medications which will suppress your need to drink alcohol. Of course, those are only for short term, and that combined with therapy, speaking therapy, maybe hypnotherapy, maybe other holistic therapies, that combined can also help you stay off the alcohol and probably not go back on it again. I think if you really do struggle to drink, if you really do struggle with your relationship with alcohol, I would see it as a friend that you say goodbye to forever, because essentially it's not a friend, but I would say goodbye to it forever, because I think there's that danger of you thinking, right, well, I'm going to reduce it enough, a little bit. I'll just get the control of it again, and then I can reincorporate it again. If you've lost the control the once, it's highly likely you're going to lose the control again. So as far as menopause symptoms go, alcohol really affects how well we sleep. It has really negative impacts on our deep sleep. So there's like deep sleep and REM deep sleep. Those are the two that really get impacted. Our deep sleep tends to be more about our physical flushing, our physical restoration, and our deep REM sleep tends to be more of the brain, when the brain flushes and helps get rid of those amyloid plaques that are associated with Alzheimer's. There is an increased risk of dementia when you drink a lot of alcohol as well. Plus, it really negatively impacts your short-term memory. And sometimes you never get that back either. So for as far as your sleep goes, sleep really is the foundation of everything. I know through menopause, sleep can be interrupted anyway, because whether you drink or not, regardless of that, you might be waking up with the anxiety that can suddenly jump upon you. You might be waking up because of the hot flushes or the night sweats that you might be having. So on top of that, if you're ladling on with the alcohol is a vasodilator. So that's going to make your hot flushes worse and your night sweats worse. sometimes you can drink if you're struggling, if you're perimenopausal and hot flushes are one of your significant symptoms. Just having a sip of alcohol can trigger a hot flush. Same with caffeine. If you have a drink of coffee, often that can trigger a hot flush. Literally immediately. It's crazy how that happens. But you imagine if you're drinking alcohol, you might go to sleep more easily to begin with. But at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, your liver's generating a lot of energy because it's having to metabolize that alcohol. Your body's getting hotter. So you're having hot flushes, you're waking up sweaty, you're feeling probably nauseous. It might be contributing to anxiety. It does have a depressing effect on your happy hormones as well. So just be really mindful of the fact that alcohol, while it might make you go to sleep more easily to begin with, it actually has a really detrimental impact long term on your sleep. I mentioned earlier about gut health. Well, if you are drinking a lot of alcohol, you are negatively impacting your mental health because of the way our happy hormones are created in the gut. So, and increasing the risk of inflammation and leaky gut, which is also going to have a negative impact on your energy levels, but also your mental health. It's also going to have a negative impact on your bone health, your bone density. It's also going to have like an impact the next day too. So if you've been drinking alcohol, you've been sleeping badly, your mind, your brain is going to be thinking, I need the fast carbs because I'm craving fast energy. So that's probably going to set you up to eat not quite so healthily the next day as well, which will probably lead you to getting to the end of the day with less resolve. So you pour a drink, an alcoholic drink. And it can set up this vicious cycle of not sleeping well, having the cravings, giving in, less resolve. Oh, I'm just going to have a drink. And this thing continues. So all the time, you're just, you're so nearly there. And then you get to the end of the day and it all goes wrong. So to help you get out of that cycle, make sure that your first meal of the day, make sure every meal, but particularly your first meal of the day is protein centric. So, 2 eggs on maybe 1 round of toast with some maybe green beans. Because if you can add veggies in, that's going to help as well, keep you fuller for longer. It'll help regulate your blood sugars. But you really want to be focusing on your proteins. If you struggle to know how much protein food sources have, in the link in the description box, there is a guide to the powerful proteins. There's also a link to that superfood shake that I mentioned earlier on. You can have a look at that. If you're wanting some real support with your health and fitness and your bone density and just getting started with healthier practice, fill in the Sparkle back form. That'll give you a good idea of what your specific struggles are. And I can get back in touch with you and we can always hop on a call. We can do messaging, whatever suits you best. And I can give you some tips and advice as to where I would take it given your current situation. Crazy thing is, if you said to your friends, I've given up cocaine, they'd say, well done, that's amazing. And you say to them, giving up alcohol, it's just like, what? What's wrong with you? And it is so crazy that there's still this stigma out there. So if you're still going out and you're socializing with people who still drink, because I think also they become very defensive. They're thinking, oh, you're going to be judging them negatively because you're now not drinking alcohol. Have a friend that you can rely on and just say, listen, I really need your support in these early days. Please just make sure that, just be there for me. Grab the water before I even get in there, whatever your non-alcoholic version is. Grab that drink for me before I even get in there. And would you just be my best friend while I sort of make this change in my life, while I, stop drinking the alcohol? And I think if you can just talk from your point of view, it's just like, I'm giving up the alcohol because I want to do this. I want to feel healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to save money. I've started a new health regime, and part of that is me giving up alcohol or reducing my alcohol intake. So then at least you've sort of drawn your line in the sand, and hopefully they'll respect that. And if they don't, well, maybe you need to find some new friends, because people do feel threatened when you give up the booze. I've got good friends who've chosen to give up alcohol. One of them particularly, he really struggled with his mental health, and he realized that when he drank alcohol, it just made him feel so depressed. And some of his friends just thought they thought he'd gone completely lunatic because he was giving up alcohol. And I think subsequent to that, he realized that they weren't really very supportive friends in actual fact. So he did himself a favor. He cut out the booze and he cut out the rotten friends as well. But it's tough, and people do get very defensive over it. So just do your thing. Ask yourself, just going back to that, do you get any benefits from drinking alcohol? There probably aren't many. If you do get benefits, what are those benefits in particular? Because is there something else that you could do to give you the same benefit? What are the things that you don't like about drinking alcohol? And then, really list them out. Be really honest with it, because at the end of the day, I think we think, oh, I'd just fluff it. But you're only fluffing yourself. You're only shooting yourself in the foot by not actually taking active steps. If it's something you feel you no longer have handle on, you do need to do something about it, because it is an addictive substance. And like I said earlier, some of us, I think, have a greater predisposition to becoming addicted to things than others. And what is it serving for you? Is it a distraction? Is it because your life is full of stress and worry, and you're just trying to, the alcohol is the blanket that you're throwing over your head, and you're just sitting there, and it's some kind of comforting anchor that you can lose yourself in? The problem is, when you're losing yourself like that, that anchor is putting you deeper down and deeper down and deeper down. And ultimately, there is no getting out of that deeper down until you realize what's going on, and realize that the alcohol is actually not a productive and safe way for you to manage those stressors. And I don't know, life can be bloody hard at times. And if you have an addiction, you need to get professional help for it. There is no beating around the bush, and it will be messy. It won't be linear. It may not work 100% straight away. It may not work 100% for the 10th time you've gone through the various channels. But each time you will learn a bit more about yourself. You will learn a bit more about how you handle your recovery back from the addiction. And often it's not just the addiction. Often there are other things that go along with it. So, are you worried about money? Are you worried about your relationship? Or, there are so many things out there that could be causing this extra stress for you. So it's not just about stopping the alcohol. It's about getting a handle on those things that are actually causing you to drink the alcohol, because you're dealing with separate issues here. So for instance, if you're significantly worried about finances, well, the booze is not going to help your financial situation for a start. But get a handle on the finances, however that might be. It might be needing to change your job. It might be needing to add another job, if you have time or capacity for that. There are ways. It might be downsizing so that you can buy something a little bit more affordable, that then enables you to just gather yourself, regain your strength and energy, and then look for something that's going to pay you a bit more. If you have a passion to want to get yourself healthier and fitter, and you want to help others do that too, you can earn an income by sharing your healthy journey. That's how I started to earn the income that I rely on these days. I started working out, I learned about nutrition, and I follow a system that I now teach to the people that work within my organization. And you don't need any specific skill sets to start. You need a willingness to learn. You need a willingness to actually share your journey. And if you have those, and it'll help keep you accountable for sure. I know if I wasn't doing this as a business, there are days when I would not want to do my workout, because I don't always feel motivated. But it has really kept me on the straight and narrow as far as my fitness goes. I've learned so much about myself, mentally and physically, as a result of doing this, because the mentorship that you get is second to none. So if you're stuck in one of those very tricky spots of you're already working all the hours, and you're still not getting paid enough in order to manage your life, and that is causing so much stress for you, I know that is a very chaotic situation to be in. It might be that you want to incorporate something where you can start to build up residual income that also allows you to prioritize your own health and wellness. If that is the case, again, in the description box below, have a look at the business opportunity link. If you fill in that form, it will just send you some information on the opportunity. It'll also have the recording from my latest business webinar. No strings attached. There is no pressure on it. If you decide you watch the webinar and think, oh, no, not for me, just unsubscribe so you don't get any more of the emails. I think it's only 8 emails, but they will explain to you in more detail about how you could actually earn an incredible income that could be literally life transforming and also help support your journey into a healthier self. But do really focus on the issues causing you to have that need to drink and to sort of drown out life. Because even if you give up drinking, those issues are still going to be there. So it's not just about the alcohol, it's about dealing with those key issues that are causing you to drink the alcohol. They are two separate problems and they're both as important as each other. The alcohol will kill you off if you're abusing it long term. Just know that. And you know that would be a tragedy if you allowed that to continue to happen when there is help out there for you. There's no pussyfooting around the fact that it is a toxin to your body. And there's a lot of very strong opinions around alcohol. I think if you enjoy the odd glass of wine or two or three, as long as you're not doing anyone else any harm and you have control over it, honestly, do you have control over it? I don't honestly see there's a problem with it. I like I said, I love my glasses of wine, but then I do go for long periods of time when I go teetotal, and I actually do feel better when I go teetotal. There's absolutely no denying it. I feel proud of myself. I lose some weight. I have more energy. I can do my workouts more easily. And so yeah, you could say, well, why do you drink then, Kate? It's just like I actually really love the flavor of wine. And there are certain relationships I have. One is one of my cousins. When we get together, we don't see each other that often, but when we do, I absolutely adore him. And we can sit up all night long and we'll drink a bottle of wine and we'll just chew the fat together, and just one of those things I absolutely love doing, and I get a lot of pleasure from it. And sometimes, yes, I'll have a bit of a headache the next day too, but in the greater scheme of things, it's relationship building. I love it. I really do enjoy it. So I think you have to factor that in as well. So I hope you found this helpful. Make sure to subscribe if you've not yet done so. And if you've got anything you'd like me to cover in a future episode, please drop it in the comments, or you can message me on Instagram at Kate Hartley UK. Again, that's linked below. Sometimes it's easier to send a private message that way rather than in the public domain of YouTube. I'll leave it up to you. But thank you so much for your company, and I'll look forward to chatting with you again next week.